Tell me what this is on your counter that I'm looking at.
There's two gin cultures, which is a SCOBY that's floating on top. SCOBY stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, and that SCOBY ferments the green tea that's underneath it. And that green tea is sweetened with honey, and the bacteria and yeast will consume part of that honey. And depending on how long you let it culture, the more tart the beverage gets. And in the meantime, you create new nutrients in that beverage, and it has good probiotics in it, and it's a refreshing drink any time of the year. It takes about 3 days to make, and you take your SCOBY out and you pour your tea off, and you put freshly made green tea with honey underneath it, and then you have a new beverage 3 days later.
And what are the health benefits of making your own fermented beverage?
A lot of people unfortunately drink sodas, which are very unhealthy, and making your own fermented beverages, which in olden days all drinks like that, all sparkly drinks were really fermented beverages, and they don't always have to be alcoholic. You can take them up before they get alcoholic. So old-timey sodas were really all fermented, and much healthier for you because they have probiotics in them, and they don't. The sugars that are put in are mostly consumed by the bacteria and yeast, and you also control the ingredients again, just like I was saying before. You can put high quality sugar or high quality honey in it instead of manufacturers that always use the cheapest ingredients when they make stuff.
I know one of the topics that you'll be covering in your weekend is how to find healthy food. If not everybody has time to grow a garden or even wants to. What are some of the ways that you find some of your quality food?
I'm going to be talking about all different ways to find food, from wild harvesting. Like here I got some sumac berries. There's also some in the basket right there that are wild harvested yesterday. They grow wild in Mississippi, and they're really tart tasting. They're very good. They're used a lot in Middle Eastern cooking, but here in the South we make sumac-ade, like a lemonade, because they're very sour. So you just soak your sumac berries in cold water overnight, and then you can sweeten the beverage afterwards, and it's really, really, really tasty. So wild harvesting will be one. Growing your own foods. How to find local growers so you can buy food from local farmers. And joining buying cooperatives. Even living in a small town, sometimes you have to order some things if you want some specialty foods, or cheaper to buy in bulk online. And we'll also be talking about shopping in the periphery of the grocery store, which is basically everything that's on the outside, not down the aisles, and going to farmers markets, and how to find the right foods, and how to make good choices when you go about finding your own wild foraged, or even when you're buying from local people, how do you know how they grow their stuff, and what different kinds of certifications are there, from naturally grown to organic, and what does all that mean, and is it really worth the money to spend? That's what I'm going to be talking about.
If people could make one change in their kitchen to move toward a healthier lifestyle, what would you say a first step would be?
I think something that I don't think there's really a term for it yet, but I've coined it the continuous kitchen, where everybody knows that cooking from scratch takes a long time, but if you let's take a chicken for example. If you roast a chicken tonight, and then you and your family eat that chicken, there might be some chicken left over. So with the leftover chicken tomorrow, you could make another dish, or you could make yourself a lunch sandwich or something. And then you could take the carcass of the chicken, everything that's left over, and you could put that in your crock pot and put some water and maybe some garlic in and set it in a crock pot overnight and make yourself what's called a bone broth. And that could be, again, the base for another meal. That could be, you know, you could either freeze that broth or you could have soup 3 days from now. So whenever you're making things, you're automatically making something for another time to use. So you make a little extra, or you don't really let anything go to waste. Like right now I'm making baba ganoush, which means we'll be eating some baba ganoush today, but I also will be freezing some, so maybe later this year I can take one of those out and bake some fresh bread, and we'll have a nice tasty baba ganoush, which is, it's a little labor intensive, but if you make a big batch then it's about the same work, and you'll have some later.
So you think building a continuous kitchen in a contemporary culture is possible?
Yeah, it's just, it requires some pre-planning, and once you kind of get used to it and get a few good recipes that you like, then it really is much easier. It helps to have some freezer space, and it helps to know some of the preservation techniques like drying and canning, and where you can really preserve the harvest for later in the year, whether it's your herbs or your bounty that you have coming out of your garden, or even your neighbor's garden, or a farmer that lives down the road. When he got too many tomatoes or too many eggplants, they're going to be going for pretty cheap.